bumped into my biology teacher at the grocery store. And we were playing catch up a little bit. I'm like, if you had provided some practical application education in biology class, I would have paid way better attention. If I had known that I could use biology to make beer, I'd have probably gotten an A in that class.
Welcome to Stout Conversations, where every week we sit down with creative thinkers in the craft beer industry and beyond. Your hosts, Ken and April, live and work in a 24-foot RV, traveling the country in search of great stories around a great beer. This week, we continue our conversation with Tim from Strange Craft Beer Company in Denver, Colorado, where he enlightens us with tales of Strange Brews, a yeast baby, 3-hour tours, and more. Careful, these tales may make you think brewing is a glamorous life.
Speaking of beer here, we don't have to go into the depths of everything, but you have some beautiful colors.
So you and I are drinking the breakfast. This is the breakfast grapefruit IPA.
Okay.
And we brew this with Citra and Amarillo. I've always thought of Amarillo as a grapefruity hop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we do throw a little bit of actual grapefruit juice into the bright tank just to dry it out a little perceived dryness, increase the actual grapefruit aroma. It's not out of 300 gallons, 1 gallon of pretty low concentrate grapefruit.
That ratio is pretty.
It just adds a little bit, yeah. And we could probably throw more in and really throw it over the top, make it, carbonated grapefruit juice, but that's not what we were going for. Yeah, I give the guys over at Ballast Point shit because they came out with grapefruit sculpin about 3 months after we came out with breakfast, and I don't remember them being in the brewery and hanging out with them and giving them a tour. So
if you're listening, Ballast,
right,
you're watching.
So when people at festivals or people that come in and get a taste, like, oh, that's kind of like grapefruit sculpin. I'm like, well, no, grapefruit sculpin's kind of like breakfast.
Not a bad compliment, because that's considered a pretty good beer.
That's true. I'll give him a hard time. Yeah, this is
the Cherry Creek, right?
This is why Strange is the Cherry Brewery. We only make 3 beers with cherries in it, but we're always known as the Cherry Brewery because of Cherry Creek.
Okay.
And this one, I can tell you the exact date that I first brewed this. I first brewed this on June 12, 2007, because...
This is a blonde, right?
This is a Belgian blonde with a shit ton of cherries.
It's so good.
Now you know why this blonde beer is this like beautiful ruby orange kind of glow to it.
There's a couple of cherries in there. There's literally 2,000 pounds equivalent of cherries per 10-barrel batch.
I know I'm not going to be allowed to drink this, but...
We can get another one. I know a guy. We can get some more.
You know a guy. Yeah, but he won't let you behind the bar, so you're gonna hope he's.
Yeah, it has to be nice.
All right, what's this one?
So this is our July 4th seasonal. We come out with this once a year. This is watermelon Hefeweizen. We hand cut 660 pounds of watermelons and throw it into the secondary with the finished beer on top. Let it sit for a week. And I think the result is pretty watermelon.
That's really good. You can smell it too. But it's not overpowering. But you can taste it.
No, it's nice and balanced.
So if you're going to call it watermelon, it actually tastes like it, but it's not overpowered.
We don't add enough watermelon so that it turns pink. I don't want watermelon juice. We only do that with the Cherry Creek. But there's definitely enough watermelon character there. And people keep asking me, why do you keep hand cutting the watermelon? Why don't you just get a puree? And we've tried different purees, and they just
doesn't taste the same.
They don't have anywhere near the same flavor.
Do you have volunteers that come in and help you cut it, or is it just
it's all hands on deck. Everybody's in that day. Everybody's got one job. One guy's just washing them. One girl's dripping them in Sani, and 3 of us are cutting them in half, slicing off the rinds and cubing them, and. Yeah, it's an ordeal, but it's worth it. So the next one, the Farmhouse, is the beer I was telling you about that I cultured the Saison d'Apertoire yeast out. And
that may have been off camera.
I wanted to. I only had that one bottle, so I started brewing a batch of beer. That my first attempt was to mimic the Saison d'Abattoir. And then I found out.
And this was in your homebrew days.
Yeah, and I found out it's called Saison d'Abattoir because it has spelt in it, which is an ancient form of wheat. And I went to my homebrew shop and they didn't have spelt. They could special order me a big bag, but then I'd have to like store it. And, I just wanted 5 pounds.
They wanted to get you a 55-pound bag.
So we started tweaking the recipe and moved away from the Saison d'Abattoir. But the Farmhouse yeast strain, I would wrap it in an electric blanket with a thermostat and let it warm up to like 95 degrees.
Really?
And,
Before you pitch?
I would pitch
just
at like 68 and just let it free rise. And it would always get to like 80, 85. And
Really?
just through test batches and brewing it over and over again, I found if I got it up to like 95, it made some really amazing flavors and esters and whatnot. And it was just a monster of a yeast. So I brewed with it pretty much every week, every other week, just making Belgians and stuff, which was great because as a home brewer, you don't have fancy schmancy temperature control like I do with the glycol jacketed fermenters. I didn't make a lot of English ales because I didn't have a thermostated fridge that I could keep at 60 and put my carboys in. I wasn't allowed that much space in the house.
So you're treating it like a baby with the electric blanket. And
Yeah.
Safe. So
Well, the electric blanket worked a lot better than the space heater underneath the comforter. Luckily, I was still home and I smelled the comforter burning.
Oh man.
About an hour after I put the carboy in there and decided that wasn't going to work. So I stole an electric blanket and jury-rigged that up with the thermostat, and that worked a lot better. And then I found firmer wraps, which are like the electric blanket element in a piece of plastic that you can just duct tape onto your carboy.
Oh, wow.
And that works a lot better. Much less flammable.
Yeah. Well, because we live in an RV and we brew in our RV sometimes, so that would be good temperature control.
Well, and you should have seen the last time because our shower is kind of like our storage room
Right,
where we
exactly.
put the carboy when it's fermenting.
Exactly.
And he's like wrapping it with the blanket and putting clothes around it.
Yeah, so I'd still use a blanket for insulation, but the firmer wrap could easily keep a carboy up to 95. And there's much less risk of burning the house down. Which is really,
You never want to burn the house down.
if you're living at home alone and you burn the house down,
Then you lose
one
the
thing.
yeast.
But yes.
The yeast is gone if you burn the
If the
house
wife
down.
comes home and you're trying to explain to her why the house burnt down because you put a space heater under her favorite comforter, that's a different
You're in
story.
trouble.
And if you brew it all, yeast, how important yeast is to what that beer tastes like. And that's why you've had this yeast now,
16 years.
16 years,
Yeah, that really is our house strain.
And I think a lot of people out there who don't brew don't realize those types of little things that there are other brewers, that they have that yeast that's...
We used to, I used to tell the students from my class that they needed to go up to Boulder to the White Labs tasting room because White Labs would brew one batch of beer, but they would ferment it with like 30 different strains of yeast, and you could taste the character that each strain of yeast imparted into the beer because it was the same word, and they boiled it all the same hops, but then you had 15, 20, 30 different beers to try just because they fermented it with a Belgian strain, an English strain, an IPA strain, a Dortmunder strain, all these different yeast strains, so you could just explore the character of different yeasts.
We did that one time with some friends of ours. We brewed a porter and just did 2 different yeast strains. One British yeast and one an English yeast, which sounds, it's the same thing. No, it's not. They're very different.
And those
English is
breweries
much
where those
sweeter.
yeasts came from will swear by their yeast as being the best, right?
They tasted very different.
Yeah,
too.
one was
Very
much
different.
more dry, one was more
They had a different
fruity,
carbonation
estery.
kind of level too, so I don't know if that was just basically depending on
Probably had something.
how. Yeah.
One of my students, Sam, kept asking me in the summer course this year, so Where do we get the yeast? I'm like, well, you call White Labs or you call White. No. Where did they get the yeast? And I'm, well, they went to each individual brewery and the culture. Okay, but where did the brewery get the yeast?
He wants to make yeast.
Yeah, she wants to know what was the origin. And we went all the way back to Louis Pasteur and getting out a microscope and all these yeast strains might have just originally been wild strains from that part of the world.
Black Project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm pretty sure James could give a much better explanation than I could.
You pull it off a tree or something. Different plants.
I was home. I went to high school in Arizona, and I was home visiting the parents for Christmas, and I bumped into my biology teacher at the grocery store. And we were playing catch up a little bit. I'm like, if you had provided some practical application education in biology class, I would have paid way better attention. If I had known that I could use biology to make beer, I'd have probably gotten an A in that class.
And your teacher probably would have lost his job.
I mean, I've taught my kids, make sure you drink after you cheers. It's bad luck. And another funny story, 2005, New Belgium had just opened their new brew house. And at the time they were calling it the California expansion because they were going to move out of the state for the first time, and distribute beer in Northern California. And the AHA had a rally.
Oh, really?
So my buddy and I drove up to Fort Collins and we're hanging out, checking out the new brewery space, and we're standing in line to get a pint of La Folie, at the rally, and we're like next in line, third in line, and they make an announcement that the tours are starting in 5 minutes. And I look over at the top of the stairs where we're supposed to meet for the tours, and Peter's standing over there. And I pulled my guy by the collar out of line, and we went over to take a tour with Peter Buchart.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's like, dude, we were next, La Folie. I'm like, fuck that. Tour, Peter.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other tours passed us. We spent an hour and a half at the fooders. We tasted all 11 fooders.
Really?
A lot of the other tours that went by, and these are the fooders where Peter makes La Folie, and then they just keep going. And then he would come out in the dark with a pitcher and say, now this is fooder 11, and with fooder 11 I get to... And it was just amazing. It was amazing. It was like a 3-hour tour. It was like Gilligan's Island. And at the end of the tour, I go to cheers Peter. And he pulls his glass back. I'm like, I insulted Peter. What did I do? I'm sorry. And he's like, no. My glass is empty. Put this back.
Oh.
So he took us down to the tasting room. We got full pints. And then he said, okay, now we can cheers.
Now we can cheers.
And I reminded him of that in 2013, 2014. We were at CBC in DC. And he's, totally matter of fact, he's like, well, of course. That's bad luck.
That is awesome.
We have new conversations every week. Be sure to subscribe to Living a Stout Life so you don't miss out. We'd love to hear from you. What do you cheers to when out with friends? Let us know in the comments below or by following the link in the description. Be sure to catch part 1, where Tim revels us with tales of the origins of Strange Craft and his unique partnership with Wits End Brewing.
This is what we opened on.
You open
This
on one barrel.
On a 1-barrel system, we had 4 1-barrel fermenters and 2 3-barrel fermenters.
I love this too. This is like the same thing as on my home brew.
Right, exactly. I think the one brew we just dragged next door because we were just doing some downtime cleaning. I always have fun when I do a tour. The cute little floor model, the real thing. Cute little floor model, real thing. So it helps people to see how we started going from 1 barrel up to 10 barrels. I mean, they do the same thing.
Right.
The only difference is one's not jacket. But other than that, it's the exact same thing. So when people kind of get that perspective on how we started, we did 3 brews with the same recipe every Monday into the 1 barrel. I'm sorry, into the 3-barrel conical. And then on Tuesday, we did 2 separate recipes into 2 1 barrels. So the end of Tuesday, it was like 27 hours, 2 guys, so 54 man hours. And we had 150 barrels. That was it. So that was April of 2010 to September of 2011 that we did 1 barrels. So that was a lot of hours of brewing.
Yeah, that is.
You know, it didn't really matter that we were completely and utterly inefficient because we weren't planning to pay ourselves anyways. So labor was free other than we were killing ourselves.
Yeah, it was just physically and mentally. You paid the cost physically and mentally and then monetarily.
And then Wednesday through Saturday was maintenance, kegging, cleaning, and from 4 to 8-ish, the taproom was open.
Do you think somebody nowadays could start off that same way? Just
They still do. They come here, they see what we started with, they see what we made it to, and they tell them, don't do it. Please don't do that to yourself. And they're like, oh, come on, he did it. We can do it.
But yeah,
so many breweries in town from 2010 to 2013, 14 open doing 1 barrel at a time.
So you still inspire them to live the glamorous life.
Yeah, so glamorous. So glamorous. I'm sitting out back drilling poles to hang shade sails from after they got bent. Yeah, so glamorous. I tell my students when they come in from Metro State, you know, half of what I make them do is cleaning. And they're kind of like, well, this isn't very exciting. It's brewing.
If you want to be a brewer,
yeah, you just get used to
cleaning.
Get used to it. Yeah. So then I was actually at CBC 2011 in San Francisco, and Jeff Griffith, who was the head brewer at Golden City Brewing Company, was giving me a shoot. Still on that 1 barrel? You freaking crazy madman. And I'm like, yeah, but I think we're going to start looking for bigger equipment. But we held on to the 1 barrel. I upset a lot of people. Like, what are you doing with that 1 barrel? Can I buy it off you? And I'm like, no, sorry. You know, test brews, pilot brews, experimentation. And on any given year, we still brew 65 different recipes, experiments mostly.
But
and
you
then
put
them on tap.
On Wednesdays, right?
Yeah, so that's the 1 barrel Wednesday stuff. And that ends up being almost, that experimentation right there ends up being almost 50 a year. You know, 50 test brews. So people will come in and see, you know, what's the crazy thing that Tyler or Tim came up with. A lot of, you know, I drive some of my coworkers nuts because it's still utterly and crazily inefficient.
Oh,
but it allows us to experiment and try stuff.
But then you don't waste a 10-barrel batch on
Yeah.
something that nobody wants to drink.
Yeah, I don't want to find out the hard way that those don't go together. It was a lot easier to dump the 1 barrel of the radish saison that smelled like week-old mop water than to dump 10 barrels of it. It was funny, we brewed that. I don't know why. Harry at Black Sky used to brew here a lot with me on 1 barrel Wednesdays. And he just came in one day with a bunch of radishes out of the garden and made up a recipe. And it was horrible.
I would have tried it.
It was horrible. It tasted. I thought it was spoiled, so I was tasting it. I'm trying to explore, you know, what was the infection, what happened, and when you smelled it, it smelled like week-old mop water. But when you tasted it, you would get the radish, you get the saison. You didn't get that aroma in the flavor. So I just, you know, I guess radish soup smells like week-old mop water. And then a week later, we got the
aroma.
the week later, we got the latest issue of Beer Advocate magazine. It's a dude holding a bunch of radishes in a growler. And I'm like, ooh, I know what that's going to smell like.
It's not going to be good.
Yeah, we already did that. You might want to rethink that.
You ever find a beer that works with?
I brewed with the radishes at one time, and we probably could have done something because radishes are so strong.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could have probably cooked them first, or done
Maybe do
something to
something
make it a little more palatable.
At least get rid of the aroma, maybe.
Yeah,
to some
but
degree.
you know, other than in salads, you don't really see radishes a lot anyway. So there might be a reason for that.
Not a lot of people just chomping away on a radish.
No.
Yeah, we've had a few recipes like that, but it was in one barrel, so we just don't. You know, or it's the employee beer. And you gotta drink this before you can have something off the board.
It's the employee who screwed up that week.
Yeah. Take it home with you. The one barrel is really where we made our reputation, just coming up with crazy recipes. I couldn't live without that. Yeah.